Welcome to the next episode of Who Do You Want to Be? Hi, Sabine. It's so nice to see you. And this week, we're going to talk about something that's been niggling in my head for the last week or so. And the weekend, it really reached this limit, and I'm bursting with it. So, Sabine had this wonderful idea that we should just talk about it today. And that's what we're doing. We are going to talk about what everyone is calling the ChatGPT hyphen. Now, for context, if you haven't heard of this, basically it's a long dash that you're seeing in all ChatGPT generated content. It's a dash that has been around for ages, and it's not a dash, and it's not a ChatGPT hyphen. The official term for it is the M dash. The reason it's called the M dash is because the width is as long as the capital letter M. And this M dash has been used by many authors, Emily Dickinson, Faulkner. You can look it up and you can see some of the best writers are known for using this M dash purely because of its function. The M dash, in my opinion, as a writer who enjoys writing and has been writing for many, many years, is like a Swiss Army knife. It has so many purposes. Like it does what a semicolon or a colon or brackets or a small dash don't quite do well when you read on paper or in a book. So the M dash is a very powerful punctuation, especially when it comes to storytelling and essentially good writing. Now, a lot of people who are now looking out for what's been written by ChatGPT are spotting this M dash and first of all, wrongly calling it the ChatGPT hyphen. So let's please not call it the ChatGPT hyphen. It is not the ChatGPT hyphen. It is the M dash. And they are basically accusing it for being a telltale sign that if you have these multiple M dashes in your writing, it's ChatGPT generated. Now, first of all, so what if it's ChatGPT generated? Is it good writing? Does it make you feel something? Does it add value to your mind while you're reading it? That's what you should be looking at, not if it has this dash or not. And the reason we're seeing this M dash, or what people more recently are calling it the ChatGPT hyphen, and please let's stop calling it that, is because the probability of the M dash coming up in writing is just becoming more as more and more people use it because it's just training on really good writing that it's been inputted. And I think the average person would not use the M dash in their writing. And now suddenly we're seeing the M dash everywhere. So it's become a talking point. And I'm just going to close my thought by saying, just because ChatGPT is overproducing, overusing the M dash in writing, we should not give up using this punctuation just because it's being overused by ChatGPT. And I'm all about making your content sound authentic, making your content not sound generic like ChatGPT, but if that involves using a hyphen, then use the hyphen. See, even I'm using the ChatGPT hyphen now. Use the M dash if it works. What I would suggest is learn how to use the M dash correctly. And then when ChatGPT writes an article for you and it's full of M dashes, at least you'll know when to remove it.
I love your passion, Abha. It's amazing to have entered this conversation with you. That was the reason why I suggested let's just, go with the flow and talk about this morning, because when you explained it earlier to me, I absolutely loved how you got yourself really into this topic. So I thought, why not seize the moment and have a little conversation about, I'm consciously saying, the M dash. Okay, it's not the GPT hyphen. I'm completely with you. But what I find so fascinating in this whole conversation is that I believe that people are now so conscious about spotting the M dash simply because it is not as usual a punctuation as the other examples that you were naming, like a bracket or simply a question mark or an exclamation mark. Everybody is very used to those. But probably it is now just getting people used to seeing the M dash because it is a part of general ChatGPT generated content. And then, of course, the next question is, do we just follow this hype? And let's just really be frank, it's only going to be a hype. I'm quite sure that in probably even 2 weeks from now, nobody is going to talk about the M dash anymore or the ChatGPT hyphen, because then attention will be directed somewhere else. Probably to the next AI tool, probably to yet another new quality of ChatGPT, whatever it's going to be. But it's really so fascinating to ask ourselves, there is something that is being, let's call it criticized in public, and how does that address to, for example, the things I believe in? Or how does that address particular values that I have? Because for you, an M dash represents a particular style of writing. For others, it represents ChatGPT created content, which of course for you is, let's be frank, a contradiction to quality writing, because it is not the writing that you have created for yourself. So I completely understand that this is something that works you up a little bit. So when you make experiences like these now, what will be your way about going about it for the next, let's say, days or weeks? Are you going to continue using the M dash, or are you going to pause it for now? What do you want to do?
So over the weekend, because I was getting into it, I actually went back to all my articles and decided to check, do I need the M dash here? Have I paid enough attention to where it's been placed? Should I remove it? And I was like, why am I doing this? I like my writing. A lot of it is AI assisted because I truly believe in using AI to write what you want to write, as long as you're still putting your mind, your knowledge, your thoughts, your experience in it. So a lot of my writing is still AI assisted. But I don't want to stop using the M dash just because of this hype. So I actually then went back and put it back wherever I took it out, because I'm like, I'm not giving the M dash to ChatGPT and therefore getting rid of it. Because if we do that, maybe over time it will be eliminated from the English language. So I decided that I'm not going to stop using it. And I also decided that if someone looks at my writing and said, "Oh, she's got the M dash, it's so ChatGPT generated," I'm going to have some empathy for them and say, what they're not looking at is the quality of my writing. Are they learning anything from my writing? Are they getting any value from my writing? And I think that's the way we have to shift thinking about writing, because let's face it, everyone's going to be using AI, if they're not already using it, to create content. It's something it does best. And as long as the content we're creating with AI is authentic, includes our own knowledge and experience, I have no issue that it's generated with AI. I just want it to be valuable content. And if it's generated by AI and it has the M dash and it's properly placed, I'm going to keep the M dash. So I would suggest, when you're reading something that you think is AI generated, it's easy to be put off because there's so much AI generated content out there now. But if it's grabbing your attention and you still think it's good writing, try not to think about if it was AI generated or not, but if it's actually adding value to your content diet, whether it has the M dash or not. We can't cede the M dash to ChatGPT. I'm going to continue using it because I know how to use it. And if it works in my writing, I'm going to keep it there. Maybe what you can do is learn where the M dash works and where it doesn't work as a writer. And then when ChatGPT puts it in your writing, you can decide whether you want to keep it or not.
I think that's a very, very good way of looking at it. And there was something that you said that just really reminded me of a funny experience that I made last week, when you were saying, in the end, the question is also, what is not AI generated at the moment? Like whatever we read, wherever we look, more or less the base assumption is becoming, oh, this is created by AI in whichever form and format. Last week, I was doing research for an assessment tool for recruitment. And I looked at different platforms, and then on one of the platforms, one of these live chat boxes was popping up. And it started saying, "Hello, real human here." And I just thought, okay, this is great. Whether you're just saying that or whether there's a real human behind it, I found it funny that this is the way how they would be starting it, because the base assumption underneath that would be we are differentiating ourselves from every other platform because we actually do still have real human agents instead of AI agents or chatbots or whatever else there is. And it's probably exactly the same about any other piece of content that we are already looking at or that we will start to look at in the future. Our base assumption might be this is at least co-created by AI. And so the question to everyone who is writing really is, what is my intention and who do I actually want to create this piece of content for? Am I focusing on those people who might just really look at all the details, trying to identify whether this is human created or AI created or co-created? Or am I actually writing for people who do care about the content? Regardless of the source, do I care about the people who might get back to me saying, Abba, I loved reading your last post, your last essay, your last blog post, whatever it would be, because the content was so meaningful to me. Whether it was entirely your writing or co-created as you are doing it or entirely AI, in the end doesn't matter because it's about the value that the reader takes out of the piece.
And this is really a mindset shift, and it's nobody's fault. There's so much abuse of ChatGPT in writing. There's so much bad writing now out there. I like to call it the AI slop. Like, it's just lazy writing. It's just lazy. And I don't blame people for being repelled the minute they realize it's ChatGPT or there's any ChatGPT in it. So it's really a mindset shift, because there are amazing writers out there that are still using ChatGPT for whatever reason, brainstorming, co-creation, and the writing is amazing, but there's not enough of that, which is why it's very natural for our minds to be like, I don't want to read that, and not stop and think, well, should I even try reading it because this person actually talks sense and has something interesting to offer. So I do think we need to shift our mindset to looking at AI, looking at any content today and not thinking, is this ChatGPT generated or is this co-created with ChatGPT, but is it good writing? Is it valuable? Is it adding value to the world of content that we're all putting out there? And the truth is, mediocre content or low quality content is just not going to fly anymore. It's just not going to get any traction. And that's going to be sooner than you think. So if you're not learning how to write good content with or without ChatGPT, you're not going to be able to stand out at all, because anybody and everybody now can create average content. So it is a mindset shift. Let's focus on the value we're getting from the content we're reading rather than how it was generated.
That is very true. And I mean, it really does bring us back to the conversation that we had a couple of episodes ago, where we were talking about the kind of content that we are consuming and where it was about the intention that I have. Why am I looking for specific content? Which are the sources that I'm looking at? But also then, for example, how much effort do I actually invest into consuming that content? Do I want to look up the sources that are behind the content? Am I just taking it in unbiased and I'm taking it at face value? This is up to the reader anyways. And to be very honest, in the end, when you are creating the content, most of the time it's driven out of your very own perspective. It's your motivation why you want to write that piece. It's probably about your audience where you are wondering, what is the biggest value I can create for them? But when you are writing something, it's really always based on your experiences, your perspective, your motivation that is behind it. And that does make it your own piece, even if it's just your prompt that needs ChatGPT or any other AI tool to create that content for you. But it is sparked by the idea that you have or that anybody else is having in that sense. And to be honest, I think that this is what matters. It also then depends on, okay, how much time do I really want to invest looking at the amount of em dashes that I have in the text? And do I go back to revisit it or not? How important is that to me, whether somebody is going to point at it and say, ooh, I think this is ChatGPT?
So I think let's move our focus and our mindset to celebrating good content, whether it's generated with AI or not. Let's focus on the quality of the content so that we force people to actually consider the quality of the content when they're putting it out, irrespective of whether they're using a tool like ChatGPT or not. Because at the end of the day, we want to continue to consume high quality content because that's what's good for our minds, good for our souls. And let's not let how the content's been created affect our ability to ingest high quality content. So if you're writing anything today or you're producing any content, do take the time, energy, and effort to make sure it's a good piece of content, whether that's information-wise, the way it's written, the way it's researched. Tools like ChatGPT can help you do this very, very quickly. And that's what you should be using the tools for, so that you can put out a lot more content that's of higher value. So let's focus on creating high value content without judging people on whether they're using AI to create it or not. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Was that